Hi, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Drawing Sacred Geometry. I'm your host, Nadihana, and today we're going to be talking about nonagons, enneagrams, and decagons. So that's 9 and 10 fold geometries. These geometries, particularly the enneagram, contain the secrets of the universe. More so, dare I say, than the others, although I don't think I can say that, is because of the numerological significance of 3, 6, and 9. Nikola Tesla famously said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, study the numbers 3, 6, and 9. So I'm going to give you a tiny, tiny glimpse into what he meant. And you might have to play the video twice. I always play it twice because it's just so extraordinary. It's like all the other geometries in that it kind of makes you question the cosmology of existence. So I really only go into this aspect of the nonagons and the ninefold geometries, and then we just get right into drawing the tenfold geometry, which is based on pentagonal design. So this is easy peasy, not much to say. I'm going to jump right into the video, and then we'll draw the nonagon, the nine-sided geometry, using the flower of life. So hopefully you caught the other video about drawing the flower of life. If not, you might want to do that, or go ahead and give it a try. Either way, here we go. The Enneagram is a methodology for personality interpretation. So they kind of hijack the term, so it's not quite technical anymore to say an Enneagram. So we stick with nonagons for now. And I'm going to play this video, and this should just answer all the questions. There's no sound, by the way. Yes. So that video should blow your mind. It is designed to encourage you to question the very fabric of reality in just a minute and a half. I also want to recommend looking into the video Sonic Geometry. I put a link to that video in the resources, and highly encourage that brain buster of questioning the factor 9 grid that is woven throughout our entire reality. Okay, onward. Let's draw, and we're going to start with the Flower of Life. We're going to begin with this iteration of the Flower of Life. We're not going to go out to all 4 circles, so you go ahead and start with a 1-inch radius, and that'll give us a 2-inch diameter circle. Start with the seed of life in the center, drawing all 7 circles, and then going on to the second ring of circles. And we saw how to draw these in both Module 1 on the Seed of Life as well as Module 4 in the Flower of Life. So those are 2 ways to access the Flower of Life if it's new to you. I hope you've been practicing. I hope everyone's got a little geometry under their belt, because it does build on itself. And it's interesting to see how this 6-fold geometry is going to turn into 9. It's 3, 6, and 9, right? So you've got a hexagonal 6-sided geometry that you can bisect into 3 different axes, into 3 pi sections, but then you can also divide into 9 segments. And before we move into dividing this beautiful shape, I always want to invite you to pause with the design, right? Like once you're done and you've got this beautifully perfect, harmonious geometry in front of you, just take a moment to breathe. Feel into it. See what you notice. See if you're smiling. It's a fairly predictable, happy response. If you're drawing this, if you're into this series of nonagons and decagons, you're hooked. You're already in, and you know what I'm talking about in terms of the happy feelings that are coming around with every seed of life and every flower of life. And now what we're going to do is a couple of things. You want to open your compass, putting the point of the compass here, and then opening it to the width of the top vertical perimeter of the circle. And you want to see if you can line your compass up to touch in all 6 places. You can see I did not, right? Here it's really perfect. Down here there's a little bit of space. It's really hard to get a perfect circle that touches all the perimeter circles. But go for it. It can be done. And you want to draw this surrounding circle. And then just as I've done on the inside, you want to label the points and label them lightly. We're not going to have to erase this shape. Don't worry, I would not ask that of you. But you could do the letters lightly so that you can keep the flower if you'd like. So A in the center, G at the top, B on the bottom left, C on the bottom right, F, D, and E inside the center circle. So now you're going to bisect the shape into 3 pi sections, right? So you're going to, from the center, you're going to draw a line up and through G to where it touches the boundary circle, then from A down through C, and from A down through B. Because the geometry is always giving us the coordinates, right? In this beautiful flower of life, we've got the secrets to 9-fold geometry. So now what we're going to do is draw a line, a horizontal line through D and E, right? So this is what we're going to start with first. We've got our 3 pi segments. Now you're going to draw this line through D and E, and you always need 2 points to create a straight line. So just lining this up, but you can also use the outer indentation of these circles. Isn't that fabulous? It goes through those points as well. So horizontal, and then another 2 diagonal axes, right? You're going to cut a line through D and F, right? Again, that'll line up with the outer divots of the circles. So one on the right axis, and then doing that again, F through E up to the top. And then you can go ahead and connect the external points to give you the polygon, the 9-sided nonagon, right? Now we're going to do the same thing that we did before with the heptagram, in that we're going to put 3 or 4 pieces of paper underneath this one and use the compass point to puncture the 9 points on the outside as well as the center point of A. That way we don't have to draw many, many, many flowers of life. We'll just have the template. And yeah, a couple of sheets of paper because there's 3 different nonagons that we want to draw. And the nonagon has 2 closed polygrams and then 1 open. I'm going to tell you what I mean in a second. You'll see. So moving on to the first piece of paper, go ahead and start at that off-center top, right? Label that one A. And then around the outside, go ahead and A through I, so that I is up at your top left. And then you want to connect every other point. Again, it's like the heptagram, right? But here it's with 9 points. So A over to C, C down to E, E to G, G to I. And you just keep going and you end up where you started. It's so cool. That's what's called a closed shape, and it really has the potential for some serious epiphanies and ahas. I see it every time we do this class, no pressure. But that feature of the geometry has a way of kind of bringing you into its patterning. I can't really explain it. You're just going to have to do it. I want to invite you to do the same process that we did with the heptagon if you happen to take that course. And try the tracing meditation, putting a little bit of easy music on for a couple of minutes, and with either the same pencil or a crayon or a color pencil or even your finger, just something where you're tracing the lines and you're just getting that motion of going around from point to point and losing your focused mind, seeing if you can take some nice deep breaths into the process of it, into the experiential or sensory aspect of the practice. It's super cool. I hope you put me on pause and do it, or some other time after you've completed the module. So this is closed nonagram number 1, complex geometry that crosses itself within the center, within the polygon boundary. Now we're going to get the next piece of paper and we're going to do that beautiful star pattern, just like the heptagon. Again, go ahead and label, starting at the top, A around to I. And for this star, which is also a closed geometry, but 1 step too complicated for the little meditation practice, we're going to start at A, we're going to end at A, and we're going to be skipping every 4th point. So I've got it here so that you can track it, A down to E, E up to I. And do take a moment to really try and tighten up the points, right, and get as accurate as you can. It does take practice, but the practice is really fun stuff. The 9-fold geometry, in addition to being part of the fundamental structure of our matrix reality, is also jam-packed with magic and mystery and occult wisdom. And I wanted to get right into drawing it. There's so much I could say. This is an introductory course, and I want to encourage you to look a little bit deeper into the intelligence of 9-fold geometry. It has, just like the pentagon and the heptagon and the heptagrams and the pentagrams, it has so much esoteric, fascinating information, and we're just getting going with the structure by drawing the geometry, and hopefully that will inspire you to do a little bit more. So you could do the meditative practice with this one as well. You can also erase the circle. The circle for us is just, if you drew the circle, I did not actually remind you to draw it. So you might just be going point to point, which is great. That's a pretty cool star in and of itself. Or if you drew the circle, you can erase the circle now. So those are the 2 closed nonograms where we're starting and ending at the same point. And here we're going to do an open nonogram, which is three triangles bisecting themselves, right? So again, on the next sheet of paper with the labeling the letters A through I, you're going to be connecting every third point. So there's three closed shapes in here, but the whole thing to make the third nonogram, aka enneagram, is three triangles. So in a minute, I'm going to show you why it's not fully an enneagram, right? They changed the geometry a little bit for their purposes. So that's why you hear me mostly referring to a ninefold geometry as nonagon or nonogram. I'm going to give you a sneak peek at the enneagram. They've just shifted the visual connection of the 9 points, right? So technically they're the same because you have 9 points, but they've drawn it differently and they've created an association with that diagram. But the Enneagram is super cool stuff. It's a way of interpreting character structure and defense mechanisms to understand your patterns and your personality and to find out ways to heal and come into alignment, come into balance, and also how to relate with other people and their personality traits and how to live a more harmonious life. It's really cool stuff. If you don't know about it, do check it out. Well done. There's a couple of nonograms and nonagons and enneagrams, and you've got the secrets to the universe by studying 3, 6, and 9. I really want to encourage you to go on and look into the symbology and magic and mystery of ninefold geometries, as well as numerology and the significance that 9 holds for esoteric magic. Thanks so much for joining me. We're going to move on to decagons now and tenfold geometries. I hope you'll stay with me.